was here for you.
About 2:30, we had a helicopter apparently strike power lines and crash into the North Fork of the American River in the canyon.
The pilot of the helicopter probably never even saw the power lines. He flew the chopper right into them. Both the pilot and passenger were killed. Good evening. The helicopter went down this afternoon on the North Fork of the American River in Placer County.
The victims have been identified tonight as John Driscoll in his late 30s from Rockland and Glenn David Luttrell, 42 years old, from Napa. Placer County authorities aren't sure which was the pilot, but they do think the helicopter was flying through the canyon over the river when it hit power lines and crashed into the water. The downed power line started the hills above the canyon on fire and about 50 acres burned. This was a small two-passenger helicopter. Placer County authorities say it left Auburn at about 1 o'clock this afternoon, perhaps just on a pleasure flight, and hit the power lines at 2:05.
Ellie Nessler, the Jamestown woman who shot and killed the man accused of molesting her son, is going to trial tomorrow. Fox 40's Deborah Steele takes us to Jamestown now, where the emotions run as high as they did the day of the shooting.
This lady should absolutely be free. There's no reason in the world they should hold her for anything. She was protecting her child.
And that was pretty much the opinion of the Tuolumne County residents we spoke to today. 3 months ago, Ellie Nessler walked into a Jamestown courtroom where Daniel Driver was on trial and shot him to death. Susan Hambrick has lived in the area for almost a year. She says Nessler was justified and, as a result, ought to get a light sentence.
I'd give her some community service and 6 months in jail and give her a medal.
Others say the justice system is to blame by not prosecuting the alleged child molester in previous cases.
The justice system don't work, and if it don't work, then somebody got to take the law in their own hands.
Connie Babb, also a longtime Tuolumne County resident, says she understands Nessler's need for revenge, but she says she may have handled the situation differently.
It's really hard to say what is right and what is wrong. And I don't think that she was right by taking another man's life.
The jury has to decide whether or not Nessler plotted to kill Driver, a decision that could mean the difference between a life prison sentence for first-degree murder or an 11-year prison sentence for manslaughter. In Sonora, I'm Deborah Steele, Fox 40 News.
Jury selection in the Nessler trial begins tomorrow. 12 people will decide whether Ellie Nessler planned the fatal attack or if she snapped.
Dorothea Puente's attorney today told the jury in Monterey that his client is not a saint, but she's not a demon either.
The defense finally got its chance to address the jury today in closing arguments.
Lonnie Wong has been covering this trial for us in Monterey. And Lonnie joining us now live via News Star. Lonnie, how did Dorothea Puente's attorneys, the defense attorneys today, explain the deaths of all the people found in Puente's backyard?
Well, Jim and Terry, at the time the bodies were found in the yard, Puente was on parole after serving time in state prison for drugging elderly people and then stealing their money. Well, defense attorneys say Puente did not want to report the deaths of her elderly tenants of natural causes for fear that she might be falsely accused of violating her probation, thus sending her back to jail. And of course, now they have to convince the jury of that.
9 bodies, my God, there must be something going on here.
Defense attorney Kevin Climo countered the prosecutor's 4-day assault on Puente's character by asking the jury not to give in to emotion.
It will take a courageous jury to ignore that passion and not to let passion or prejudice dictate the result.
That will be difficult for jurors who were flooded during the prosecutor's summation with images of decomposed bodies dug up from Puente's yard.
What does it prove? Proves you found a graveyard. Doesn't say a thing about how people died.
The defense has contended that one of the supposed victims died of suicide, the other 8 of natural causes. Climo said Puente took advantage of their deaths by cashing their Social Security checks, but didn't kill them.
I can look her in the eye and say, Dorothea Montalvo Puente, you're a thief. Doesn't make her a killer.
And those who died were old and sick. Climo emphasized once again, a cause of death can't be proven.
The burden of proof does not rest with the defense to prove to you in each of these counts the cause of death. The burden is on the prosecution.
Just how well the prosecutor undertook that burden is, of course, up to the jury.
Lonnie, 5 years after Dorothea Puente was arrested, 5 years after the bodies were dug up downtown on F Street. We're getting to the end here, aren't we? When do we expect the jury might finally get this case?
Well, the defense attorney Kleinwell, still has to complete his closing arguments to the jury. That will take the bulk of tomorrow, and then the prosecutor gets a short rebuttal. So it could be by the end of tomorrow and possibly Wednesday.
And obviously, at this point, anyone's guess how long it will take the jury to decide. That's Lonnie Wong reporting live for us tonight from the Puente trial in Monterey.
Two of our state's top elected officials carried machine guns in the Capitol today. Senate Democrat leader David Roberti and Attorney General Dan Lundgren held the weapons to push for more gun control. One of the things they want to do is limit the number of bullets that guns can hold.
Large capacity ammunition clips are the twin brothers of assault weapons. It's time to end their symbiotic relationship.
Roberti said a smaller clip might have slowed down Gian Ferry in the shooting spree that left 9 dead and 6 wounded at 101 California Street in San Francisco. That incident is the impetus behind this latest call for more gun control.
Rush hour commuters watched in horror tonight. Sacramento County Sheriff's deputies struggling to save the life of a woman who's been described as distraught.
At one point, the woman was dangling over the side of a freeway overpass while deputies held up until help could arrive.
Quite a scene. Mike Bond was there, and he is here now, live in our newsroom with more on that story in our Night Beat segment. Mike, what was this all about?
Well, as you can imagine, traffic was quite a mess. It was 2 brave sheriff deputies who are responsible for this woman being alive tonight. It all happened about 5 o'clock on the 41st Street overpass over Highway 99. At first, witnesses say they thought the woman was just playing, but soon they realized it was no joke. The Sheriff's Department and CHP shut down the freeway while 2 deputies held on to the distraught woman to keep her from falling.
I really didn't want to see her drop. I mean, I was just hoping I could secure her good enough to hold her until fire. I knew fire would get there eventually.
Oh, I didn't want her to jump. I've seen it before, and it's not something I want to see again. And we're trying to help her out. She just didn't want any help.
Despite a struggle by the woman, firefighters were finally able to carry her down to safety via the ladder of a fire truck. You know, with all the budget cuts, there are barely enough deputies to respond to all the calls. It's just very fortunate that there was a unit close enough to help this woman. That'll do it for Night Beat. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Mike. Mike Bond reporting live from our newsroom.
Well, we talked earlier in this program about Ellie Nessler's trial starting tomorrow. There is a similar situation in Linwood, Washington. In this case, a convicted sex offender just got out of jail and was planning to move into a home owned by his family. But someone has torched that house. Nobody's going to live there now. The home destroyed by fire early this morning, and police say it was arson. People in this neighborhood had put out these signs to let everyone know Joseph Gallardo was coming to town. He was just paroled after serving less than half his sentence for raping a 10-year-old girl. Residents made it clear today they wanted no part of Gallardo in their neighborhood.
There's more ahead here on Fox 40 News. The Mississippi River looks more like one of the Great Lakes. The flooding in the Midwest has reached almost biblical proportions. We'll have the latest in just a few moments.
And the scene very grim in Japan tonight. An earthquake and ensuing tidal wave has left a huge trail of destruction.
You're watching Fox 40 News with Jim Crandall and Terry Cox. Rich Miller on sports. Fox 40 News at 10.
It's a difficult decision.
Spend a night with me, Kelly.
But sooner or later, everyone has to make it.
If you're ready, I am.
90210, senior year. Then, what does it take to be a supermodel?
A photographer wants you to do things that you normally would never do.
Take a revealing look inside the glamorous, sometimes shocking, super competitive world of the supermodel.
I'm only 15 and I don't think right now I can handle all this.
Kathy Ireland hosts The Look of the Year, a 1-hour special Tuesday after 90210.
public notice. RV buyers. The RV Expo Super Sale will be at Cal Expo, Gate D, from Friday, July 16th through Sunday, July 25th only, from 10 to 9 p.m. The first showing of the 1994 RV. All 93 models will be selling out at incredible prices. Bid on row after row of new and used diesel pushers, Class A and Class C motorhomes, fifth wheels, and trailers. Get financing on the spot from bankrupts on the premises. The RV Expo Super Sale at Cal Expo, Gate D, July 16th through 25th. Free parking, free admission. Don't miss it.
Power hungry.
Power breakfast.
Power breaks.
Power breakfast.
Power lifter.
Power breakfast.
Hey, there are 8 great ways to enjoy Caro's weekday power breakfast for only $2.99.
Power tools.
Power breakfast.
At Caro's, you can have a different power breakfast every day of the week.
Power play.
Power breakfast.
Powerful.
Power breakfast.
Power your way over to Caro's, the breakfast powerhouse.
Oh, yeah.
Ladies, do you mind telling us your age?
7.
And how old is old?
Old is probably 91.
So how old do you think you have to be to drive a car?
I think it's 11. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe it's 29.
Hey, with no payments until November, I bet you can't wait to drive.
Ooh, yeah!
And that's life, brought to you by your California Jeep and Eagle dealer. Who else?
Millions of people in the Midwest are still fighting floodwater. The Mississippi and Missouri rivers are so far out of their banks, there's a chance the floodwaters could actually meet. The pictures tell most of the story, but what they don't show is the lack of power and drinking water. And after the waters recede, it could take months to restore everyone's electricity. Vice President Al Gore toured parts of the Midwest today. The Clinton administration has promised $1 billion in relief aid, but that already looks like it won't be enough. But not even this natural disaster could slow down love. Scott Peters and Kim Fleeg were married yesterday on the edge of the floodwater and then floated off on their honeymoon. And remember this, Sacramento, 1986, when our area was either underwater or threatened by heavy rain, weakened river levees and creek beds overflowing into nearby neighborhoods. And most of us didn't have flood insurance. Bob Cook went to some of those neighborhoods today to see if residents are better prepared now than they were then.
This is Arcade Creek at Norwood. No threat unless you're allergic to mosquitoes. In 1986, it was a different story. An entire neighborhood found itself underwater. Today, we spoke with a few residents who lived through that flood. Many didn't have flood insurance then, and they still don't have it today.
It didn't cover anything, and I lost practically everything that I had.
So, do you have flood insurance now?
No, but I plan to get it this year.
We got it because, you know, they were talking about the levee might bust again, all this, so heck, I thought we might as well.
Since the floods of '86, the levees along the Sacramento River have been strengthened, at least to minimal federal standards. But the levees here along the American River haven't been touched, and they still pose the greatest threat to homeowners in Sacramento. Those areas in red, pink, and blue could see between 5 and 20 feet of water in their homes. Yet most people still don't have insurance against floods. And experts tell us if you live within a mile of the American River,
something slightly larger than the '86 flood would put your home at risk.
In Sacramento, I'm Bob Cook, Fox 40 News.
Police in Japan now put the death toll following today's big earthquake at 36. And as Eileen O'Connor reports, 100 people are still missing and houses are still burning following today's 7.6 quake.
Pictures shook, blinds and windows rattled as the tremors rumbled through Japan's northern island of Hokkaido. Journalists at Aomori Asahi TV fought back fear as they grabbed the phones to report and assess the damage. They found disaster. Cars tossed like toys into ditches, people trapped, some bloodied and barely able to crawl from the wreckage. The worst hit the tiny island of Okishiri, just off the coast on Monday night, a raging inferno. What fire did not destroy, 3-meter-high tidal waves, some 10 feet tall, smashed into the shore. In the light of dawn, a smoldering ruin, a world turned upside down, with twisted houses floating and boats burning on land. We are witnessing what tidal waves can do, this reporter says. A landslide as well on the northern part of Okishiri added to the death and destruction. As rescue workers sifted through the rubble, people stood stunned, hoping they were over the worst. The lucky ones huddled under blankets in makeshift shelters. With so many missing, authorities say the death toll is sure to rise, making this the worst quake in 10 years. Eileen O'Connor, CNN, Tokyo.
Chinese refugees crammed aboard 3 boats off the coast of Southern California are now getting food and medical attention, but they're still not being allowed to step foot in the United States. It is that story that tops our look at the world. The Coast Guard is delivering food and doctors to the 3 ships where more than 650 refugees are awaiting their fate. They spent 2 months at sea in pretty horrendous conditions. Most of them appear to be okay. As a Coast Guard camera videotaped them today, they displayed signs that said, "USA, I love you," and "Freedom, we want." In Mogadishu, an angry mob of Somalis killed 4 journalists. The journalists were covering a UN helicopter attack on a command center belonging to warlord Mohammed Farah Aidid. The UN reports that 13 Somalis were killed in that attack. The Somalis say 73 people died. And President Clinton is in Hawaii this week on his way home from the economic summit in Tokyo. This is the president's first vacation since he took office, and that is tonight's Fox World News Wrap-Up.
The president had more flowers than any tourist I think I've ever seen there.
There were a lot of them there.
Well, coming up next, Apple Computers hoping to get a bigger bite of the personal computer market. We'll tell you how they're planning to sweeten your deal.
And there's a new face at Metro Airport tonight. Alaska Airlines' familiar logo is now part of the travel scene, and we'll tell you what that'll do for prices next.
July's Jumpin' is Toyota's biggest sales event of the summer. Time to jump into the hottest sporty cars around. Save up to 1,500 cool ones on sizzling Celica option packages. Or get in a Paseo, hot, wild, and practical. Starting under $12,000. Of course, the hottest news for '93 is the all-new Toyota Supra. It's taken everything sports cars were before and crossed the line. So see your Toyota dealer now.
Toyota's hot.
Hot cars, hot deals.
If you've put off buying a personal computer because prices are too high, maybe now's the time to get your checkbook out. Apple Computer announced today that it's cutting prices, in some cases by 34%. This is the 3rd time Apple has dropped its prices in 3 months. Overall, personal computer prices are now down by about 50% compared to a year and a half ago. As for Apple, it says it's dropping prices so that it can increase its market share. It was just last week that Apple said it would lay off 2,500 employees from its workforce.
There is a new look at Metro Airport tonight. The white and black planes of Alaska Airlines started service at Metro today, and they've already had an effect on prices. Right now, service is limited to just 3 round-trip flights a day to Seattle. With 14 days advance purchase, that round-trip ticket is only $138. That is considerably less than the usual rate. Other airlines will reportedly match that price. A spokesman for Alaska Airlines told us this afternoon they'll wait to see how they do and then think about expanding service at Metro.
And of course, if Seattle's a little cooler than Sacramento, you just might want to buy yourself a ticket.
Absolutely, or try Anchorage.
That too. 95 degrees our afternoon high today. Let's take a look at our current conditions. We head outside at this hour in Sacramento, 82 still, 79 in Stockton, 81 in Modesto.
A very pleasant night, and tomorrow should be a dandy day again. Sunshine, Lake Tahoe, after an overnight low of 36. And boy, look at Truckee. That's below freezing at 31. 78 tomorrow in Tahoe, and rebounding nicely in Truckee too, up to 79 degrees. The forecast then for the foothills, sunshine tomorrow, a little bit windy maybe, up to 15 miles an hour, but very pleasant high temperatures, right around the 90-degree mark, and sunny in all locations. Inland valleys, fair and warm, 87 tomorrow at Lakeport, a very pleasant 81 tomorrow in Santa Rosa. The Bay Area forecast, fair skies, mild in San Francisco tomorrow, 68 the high there, 81 tomorrow in Santa Cruz. And our forecast with a little bit of wind, again at about 15 miles an hour, perhaps gusting, 91 here in Sacramento tomorrow. Should be a gorgeous Tuesday.
So take a look at the rest of your work week. In the 90s all week long. Should approach the 100-degree mark on Saturday, but looking pretty good for the middle of July.
Yeah, warming up a little bit towards the weekend. Well, our #1 news story tonight was the helicopter crash here in Northern California. Another chopper went down today in another part of the country and left a well-known race car driver in critical condition.
Sports is next. Rich Miller with the latest on that story.
Gentlemen, welcome, welcome, welcome. That being so stated, on to the job at hand. Please take note. Listen carefully. To begin,
Every one of these executives flew to this important business meeting on a different airline, sampling various meals, beverages, onboard services, and other amenities. Can you find the one executive that flew here on Alaska Airlines?
Plus 6.5. Divide the whole quantity by 10.
A priest is on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that's why Father Stephen Beal of St. Luke's Episcopal Church in Woodland signed up with Pactel Cellular. Father Beal says Pactel Cellular displays an almost religious devotion to customer service. In fact, more people in a recent survey rated Pactel Cellular #1 for local coverage, call clarity, and reliability. Now, Father Beal's found his calling. How about you? Pactel Cellular. You can't beat the system.
Why use Valvoline motor oil? It's the #1 choice of Indy 500 chief mechanics, Daytona 500 chief mechanics, NHRA mechanics, and Baja 1000 mechanics. For use in their race cars and in their own cars. Any more questions? People who know use Valvoline.
Available at Grand Auto Supply.
Our main objective when we built our new front-wheel drive minivan was to make certain that it was the only vehicle in its class, period. Introducing Mercury Villager. If it was just another minivan, it wouldn't be a Mercury. All this and the quality of a Mercury.
You know, I run into people all the time that have never shopped at a Men's Warehouse store, and I say the same thing to everybody. Give us 1 minute. Just come into our store for 60 seconds, and you'll become a Men's Warehouse customer. I guarantee it.
Rich Miller in the top sports story tonight. A big-name race car driver in a helicopter crash today.
Been a rough year for NASCAR with Alan Kulwicki dying not too long ago, and a rough year for the Allison family. They had a son, Clifford, killed last year. Crashes at racetracks, of course, happen from time to time, but the accident that has NASCAR star Davey Allison fighting for his life tonight didn't involve an automobile. It was a helicopter crash that happened on the infield at the Talladega racetrack this afternoon. Allison suffered a serious head injury. Surgery was performed. Doctors not sure yet, though, what his chances are. Veteran driver Red Farmer also on board. His injuries, though, not life-threatening.
Well, the helicopter was about 10 feet off the ground, and the tail caught a fence. Flipped it round and around very violently, upside down.
Allison has had a pilot's license for several years, but had owned the helicopter for only about 3 weeks. No ball games to talk about tonight. It's the All-Star break. The All-Star game tomorrow night at Camden Yards in Baltimore. Plenty of festivities today, though, like the Home Run Derby. Ken Griffey Jr. of the Mariners ripped one across the street and off the warehouse. No one had ever hit the warehouse. The crowd went nuts. Griffey, though, took second. The winner of the contest, Juan Gonzalez of the Texas Rangers, whose best drive of the day was this one off the third deck in left field. Talk about power. Michael Jordan left Lake Tahoe last night and headed for Baltimore. Jordan, part of the celebrity home run competition. He didn't hit one out, but he won the contest on points. But then among the other competitors was the fashionably dressed Bill Murray. Mark Langston of the Angels will be the American League starting pitcher tomorrow. Terry Mulholland of the Phillies goes for the Nationals. The Giants' John Burkett has had the best first half, but manager Bobby Cox chose Mulholland.
I was surprised. You know, I think John's done a great job this half and definitely deserves to start. You know, if the situation had worked out in terms of him getting enough rest and everything else.
Mulholland could be Tony La Russa's little brother. Remarkable resemblance there. Well, some potentially good news for the Kings in their efforts to sign their first-round draft pick, Bobby Hurley. Washington today came to terms with Calbert Cheaney on a 6-year contract. Cheaney was picked 6th by the Bullets right before Hurley, so the market is now somewhat established. No word on the money involved in Cheaney's deal. The 49ers set to open camp later this week in Rockland. Usually the quarterbacks join the veterans and rookies for the opening of camp, but Steve Young has yet to reach agreement on a new contract. Agent Lee Steinberg reportedly is looking to double Young's $2.5 million salary. Young cannot report to camp until he's under contract. John Elway makes about $5 million a year, and I guess they figured that since Young was the MVP last year, he had to be making about the same amount of money, but Still a ways apart, but I think they'll get him in.
That's a decent raise, though. $2.5 million.
Yeah, not too bad for 1 year's work. Yeah.
All-Star game tomorrow?
All-Star game tomorrow. We'll have all the highlights and hopefully some post-game reaction to that tomorrow.
All right, Rich. And let me just say that if Bill Murray stayed in the batting cage from now until Christmas, he'd be lucky to hit it out of the infield.
Maybe some hitting practice for Bill before he gets into the big contest next year.
All right, Rich.
Thanks, Rich. And finally tonight, home of the Big Mac is now home to the Big Thrill. Actually, they call this thing the McThriller. It is a motion simulator that can put you in the seat of a bobsled or even a race car. Now, it's only at the McDonald's in Buena Park, so for now, when you go to the McDonald's restaurants in our area, the little play area with the plastic balls, that'll just have to suffice.
Wow, I wonder if that will become, though, the, state of the art for McDonald's restaurants. It'll turn into little mini theme parks.
Yeah, but then they'll take up all the parking spaces, too.
Yeah, and do you want fries with that?
There you go.
That's it for us, huh?
Yeah, it does it for us on a Monday night. Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you tomorrow night. Should be a great day on Tuesday. For all of us here at Fox 40 News, good night for now.
Good night.